tell you. There you go. You're going now. You're going
We
now.
are live, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube land and Facebook land. You are more than welcome to your weekly dose of Mauls, Balls and all, where we chat about everything rugby related and also the top stories that are hitting the headlines, be it online or in print media. Joining me this evening are a couple of regulars. We have Claire Devaney and we have Mike Reedy. And our special guest on tonight, he is a gentleman who is well versed in rugby. My God, he is very well versed in rugby. He has written for the Telegraph. He's written for Planet Rugby. He's written for Rugby World. He's written for the Times. He's been involved with BBC Radio 5 Live. He's also written for the Rugby Blog. My God, I could go on. He is now currently writing for the Observer in the UK. And he is also a podcast host himself for the Rugby Bunker. Ben Coles, how the hell are you? You're very welcome. Are you well?
Oh, Peter, what a pleasure. Yeah, good. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me on. Lots to discuss, and I'll do my best to try and offer some insight where I can.
Well, here, listen, hold on a second now. You also
Better
wrote
than
a
what
book.
we do. It's better than what we do.
Yeah, exactly. But now,
No.
Ben, you also wrote a book, which I haven't read, but I've read snippets of it. The Rugby Pocket Bible, which is a great title, I must say.
That is a throwback. That was a long time ago.
2012. That was 13 years ago.
That was basically to pay off my student loans. That was a long time ago. So I'm impressed you A, found it, and B, have read some of it. That's good.
But come here, how an awful lot of research would have had to have gone into that, Ben. How long did it take you to write that? Out of interest.
That's a good question. It probably took me, I think, about 3 or 4 months in the end, because it was just making sure that a lot of the detail was factually correct in terms of the early days of the sport and the formation of it. And then what's quite nice about that book is that there's a lot of, it really is designed for somebody who knows nothing about rugby. So you can pick it up and there's diagrams in there, which I think my brother did, actually, now I think about it, who works as a designer, and trying to illustrate how scrums work, how lineouts work, positions on the field, things like that. So it really is kind of a first timer's guide. But yeah, no, I haven't thought about it for a very long time, Peter. I'm glad you brought it up, and sales are about to go through the roof.
Would you ever do a follow up? No,
I probably need to, because it would now seem incredibly out of date. This was in the days before. I think we still had 7 subs. We might have only had one prop replacement back when I wrote it. It was so long ago. Wow. So yeah, it needs an update.
The reason I'm asking you now, Ben, is because, and Claire and Mike will know this, we had a referee, as you know, we had Luke Pearce on here about 3-4 weeks ago. Claire, yeah. Mike, was it?
Yeah, about 4 weeks ago, yeah.
And Ben, Luke Pearce, now he said it prior to coming onto the show, but he reiterated it when we had him on, that the game is just too complicated. Would you agree with that, Ben, with your knowledge of the game, with your obvious knowledge of the game?
Yeah, I think I think being a referee is just a ridiculous job. It's too difficult. It genuinely is too difficult. I remember chatting with Wayne Barnes about this for an interview ahead of his 100th test, and he was sort of talking about the abuse he'd sort of received, and I think that was before he then did that World Cup final, where that abuse then went up about 5 different levels. And yeah, he just said, "Look, it's too hard. No, the game is too fast. The athletes now are too quick and too powerful." Yeah, sure, maybe pre-professionalism, it was easy enough to referee because everyone was slow and you could sort of easily spot the pace of the play. But yeah, now I think for one referee out in the middle, it is too hard. So I have a lot of sympathy for for Luke and the other referees, because obviously we chat to them occasionally, sometimes on the record, sometimes off the record about games and decisions, and also the reaction they get from fans on social media and in person. And it's fair play to them. They've got incredibly thick skins.
Would you ever do it, Ben?
No, Peter. No way. No. Maybe I don't know. My little boy is about 3 now. Maybe I'll do some like minis games. But no, I'm not. I'm not turning into a test referee. No way.
All right. Okay. Dara, welcome. I know you are working late, so welcome, Dara.
Yeah. Thank you very much
to the show. Claire, as I asked Ben there, it's a bit mad, really, being a referee. As we saw the criticism of said referees at the Interpro last weekend between Munster and Leinster, when there was just uproar, and Connacht as well, when there was a red card and people said it's fucking ridiculous.
I wouldn't do it for all the money in R360.
Well, now we're going to come on to that.
That's an awful lot of money.
No, I'm just saying. I would not. And it's not only okay. Professional refs, okay, you have social media and all. I've seen games in like amateur games, like even leagues that I've seen, that refs are getting fierce abuse, and you're like, hold on, from people that probably haven't been on a pitch, that like we have armchair refs, shall we say, that wouldn't know the rules, the laws, whatever else, giving out absolute stink, and you're like, unless you're on the pitch or unless you know what you're talking about, do not be giving them abuse. They are out here on a Saturday, Friday, Sunday, giving up their time to grow the game for your children or your grandkids or whatever. And I would not do it for love nor money. Like the threat some of them get. Like we've now, I know Luke said he didn't, but we've heard stories of like the refs getting like social media threats and all. That's just not on for a game you love.
Yeah, sure. Look at Wayne Barnes. He got
I was just going to say.
He, you know, I met him when we were in New Zealand, and I remember sitting down, and he was sitting beside us in a coffee shop, absolutely lovely man, like no airs or graces or anything. And then 2 or 3 days later, when he was repping people giving them abuse, I will admit, I apologise. I do apologise, Wayne, if you're listening. Back in the day, I did used to give out about him, but that was just for. But now it's just like I won't abuse a ref. I would never ever abuse a ref, because they're out there, like as Luke said. Sometimes you get it wrong, but as long as you're consistent through your long, we're all right.
And what about
sorry, go on there, yeah.
What about if Dom was playing in a match, Claire, and you were on the sidelines? Would you give the ref a bit of abuse then? Maybe?
No. And still to this day, at his age, when he rings me and he gives out about the ref, I'd be like, well, I have said from the time he started playing, the ref is always right, even if he's wrong. Because at that time, that was what he was going on. What yes, looking back on it, but in a game we don't have 800 angles. Even we've seen, even with 800 angles, they can still get it wrong. They are human. They are human, and giving them abuse is no good.
Okay.
I'm from the era where you had to call refs sir, you know. And
you still have to call them sir.
Had I been on the program with Luke Pearce, I probably would have found it weird to not call him sir. But apparently,
I could call him sir.
One of the reasons why Wayne retired, also Wayne Barnes, was he said the amount of random women who used to come and sit beside him in coffee shops. He said it was just, it was becoming too much of a hassle.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, that was definitely not me. It was definitely not me.
Mike Reedy, any thoughts on this point?
Well, there's various different reasonings for how difficult it's become for referees, and one is the amount of camera angles that are available, and the amount of scrutiny by everybody and their granny after games, during games, whatever, and a referee is on hiding to nothing now. And like everybody else just said, like the level of respect has completely diminished from the game, from our game, the game we love, and it's complete. It's almost become an alien sport to the one I started loving 50 years ago. But it's incredible, really, where it has gone, and it's been caused by money, same as any organization. You know that. Like when it was an amateur sport, it was a completely different game. You listen to the Argentinian guys that we had on the show, and they see the game in a very different light to the way even we do now. But as regards referee, I mean, Claire said she wouldn't do it for all the money and or 360. If they give me some of that, I'd give it a go. At 63 years of age, I'd be fucking out there walking around on me new hips. But no, it's dreadful in some ways, but it's indicative of the way sport in general has gone. I mean, when you get referees getting the amount of abuse now, lads, some of us have been guilty of it ourselves on the spur of the moment. You know, we have. We know online. I wouldn't ever publish something. I wouldn't post something on an open forum. But even amongst ourselves, you know, we've said things about referees. You know, he's had a bad game or he's made a bad mistake there. Never something that's vile. You know, some of the vile stuff that's being posted out there is just absolutely, it's unacceptable, to be honest. It's totally unacceptable. But we have, as we've all spoken about before, some of our Southern Hemisphere pals that as Dara likes to say, never got the memo. Never got the memo.
No.
So, but no, it's a shame, but like it ain't going to go back, lads. It's not going to go back to the way it used to be. Not while we have a professional sport.
No, not at all. Not, I'm please not. Ben, mentioning or 360. Just before I ask you another question about this, something has expired here. Yeah, just go away. Your overall thoughts, Ben, on this or 360 and Mike Tyndall's efforts to get this new. I don't know what you call it, but sorry, you go on. Your overall thoughts on R360 Ben. What do you think about it?
Oh, well. So I think initially, like most people, probably quite skeptical about the concept of a Grand Prix style model featuring the world's best players being paid enormous money, touring the world, but still being available for internationals, getting less games, but for bigger salaries. Look, it all sounds lovely, doesn't it, on paper? And you can, and if you were an international player, I can 1,000% see why it would appeal. I just think I've always adopted the approach with this where I've thought I'll believe it when I see it. And what I mean by that is, if you sit me in this player draft, which I think is meant to happen next July, based on the latest things that we've heard. Once I'm sort of sat in that draft and I'm watching players getting drafted to these teams, and there's kits and there's sponsors and there's a TV deal, maybe then I'll start to believe if it's going to happen. So I've tried not to necessarily kill it off before it's had a go. I think the statement from the unions last week or 2 weeks ago, saying that their players won't be eligible for international rugby if they join R360. Yeah, that's mad. Unless you're Welsh, or who's the other one? Is it Argentina? Was the other one? Who didn't say that?
Are amateur anyway, so.
Yeah, so I mean, those lads. I look forward to watching a tournament full of Wales and Argentina players. But I think, like, I just think that statement's bad news. But
just bring back Warren Adams.
But where's the response? I think would be there's been no kind of. They're still operating in the shadows. Is one of the issues I've had, and they needed, when that statement came out from the unions, and inevitably it did, I think they needed a better kind of approach to addressing the fears and telling everybody why this was a good idea. And we haven't really had that. There's been a few kind of tit for tat statements. We've heard a few things from people, and I hear things which are interesting. I hear things about the players who are signed up. I hear details about the money and the timeline. I'm thinking, okay, but I don't think there's enough going on publicly to kind of persuade people that this is. I mean, what do you
But
guys think? How skeptical are you?
No, but come here, Ben. The fact that they're not releasing an awful lot of things publicly, is that a good or a bad thing? Though
I think we've got to the stage where it's a bad thing. I think in the first kind of 9 months, a year of setting it up, where you're trying to get players contracted and you're trying to get these agreements in place, I think that's fine. I think now we've come to a point where the whole concept is under so much pressure that I think you need to be clearer about what your plan is. Because at the moment, I don't think people are taking it seriously. People behind the scenes are taking it seriously. Agents and players and people who I speak to are still believe there's a chance. I think a lot of people otherwise are losing faith in it, personally.
do you honestly, Ben, hand on heart, think that it's going to go ahead?
I could see it now. I could see it going ahead in some form now, but it's not going to be what they said. It's not going to be what they imagined. It's not going to be this like blockbuster competition for the best players. But could I see a version of it going ahead featuring loads of Wales and Argentina players and players who don't care about test selection? Maybe. But then my response to that would be, who wants to watch that? I don't know if
Brilliant.
I personally do.
But is that not what, Ben? Is that not what Japanese rugby facilitates for a year for players who have a year on their contract left and they want to go and get the big money? And is that not what Japan rugby does already,
or what French rugby does in the northern hemisphere?
Yeah,
there you go.
French, yeah.
I think if you were, say you were a player who thought, I want to make a big move now, would you join R360 with all the uncertainty about it, even if there's great promise of riches, over going to the top 14? Probably not. The top 14 is the best league in the world. I think everybody agrees with that. The money on offer is excellent. You're joining you're going to play in an incredible country. You're going to get an amazing quality of life. If it was me, I'd take the top 14 over the uncertainty of being drafted to play for the Sao Paulo Dolphins or whatever, because we don't know what they're going to be called. So that's where I sit at the moment, anyway.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Thanks, Ben. Good points raised. Dara Weston, I know we've spoken about this, as I've said in the message. With ad nauseum, I sent it to Ben. I've sent it to all you. This R360 thing we've all spoken about several times. Any lasting thoughts on this, Dara?
It's not going to go away. And it's widely rumored to be the Saudis who are also behind Live Golf. They'll throw money at it until it happens. We saw this with anybody who follows golf. Saw this with Live Golf. The PGA came out and said, "Oh, if you join Live Golf, you won't be eligible to play in the Ryder Cup for Europe or for the USA." Didn't stop players going. And because ridiculous sums of money were thrown at players. And I think so far, I mean, okay, even ourselves, look at Johnny Sexton. Johnny Sexton went to France for, was it 2 years? Came back, played for Ireland again. And I think he was allowed
for Ireland still. He was allowed there when he was in France.
As a dispensation that he was allowed to play while he was in France. So far, the Aussies are the only ones who've come out and said, if you go to R3, you won't be eligible to play for Australia for 10 years. So, do we honestly believe that if DuPont got offered 8 million quid to go to R360 for 2 years and then came back, the French Rugby Union would say, no, you cannot play for us because you went off to R360. Of course they'd take him back. He's the superstar.
That's
the only thing that R360, I think, if it's to be a success, they need to get superstar players. They need to get really top of their game players, as well as the journeymen, and as well as, I mean, look at the debate or the speculation over Gibson Park. He's 33. He's going to be 35 at the next World Cup. Apparently, he signed a contract with the R360 to discuss with them. That's the kind of players they're aiming for. International players who are coming towards the end of their career. And bear in mind, it's a short career. It's only, if you're lucky, you might get 15 years if you're not injured. Most rugby players. That's the maximum. So if you get offered a couple of million for the last 2 years of your career to go off and go touring around the world, flying business class, getting paid, shed loads of money, probably tax-free because you're probably going to be paid out of the Middle East somewhere, and because you're always touring, you're never in one country long enough to pay tax. Of course you'll go for it. And then they'll go for the big names as well. So, I think it will definitely go ahead because I think they won't want it to fail. They want to create this, and they've done it with Live Golf. I mean, Live Golf has lost money hand over fist, but they don't care. Like the Saudi oil company, I think it makes like 4 billion profit a day. So I mean, money's no object really, and from their point of view, when that's why they're investing in airlines and everything in the Middle East and tourism, because they know the oil will run out eventually. So they want to be sports destinations. They want to be tourist destinations. They want all this kind of stuff. So.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Sarah. Claire, Mike, any further thoughts on this before we move on to our next topic?
I think there's a fundamental difference between rugby and golf for starters. Golf is an individual sport where you only have to attract one individual to play in a competition. And as far as I can see, Live Golf has been a catastrophic failure. It
has, but it's a team basis they have it on. But it hasn't attracted the crowds they want. But
no, it's absolutely
they're still putting the money into it.
It's not even getting TV. It's not getting the same TV coverage. They thought they were going to be a genuine competition for the PGA and the European golf, and it just hasn't happened. And for them to attract top level rugby players like at the height of their game, I don't see it happening. I do see happening what you said. Players coming to the end of their careers, that they will think let's cash in, and that's what they probably will go for first of all. It would be the sensible thing to do anyway. And other players are going to sit back and see how it goes. They're not going to jump ship and join a maybe organization. I don't see that happening. I do not see like somebody like DuPont, who's committed to what he's doing with France and with Toulouse, going anywhere. But
Mike, the only maybe is about whether it happens or not. The money is not a maybe because we know it's coming from somebody.
Yeah.
DuPont. So if you had the likes of Marcus Smith and DuPont being offered $5 million to go and commit for 2 seasons, they'd be mad not to.
Well, they would
they'd probably have to
20 weeks
to make that money. So
go on, Claire. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Mike.
I'm just saying, technically they'd be playing like 20 weeks. What's a 10-week competition, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you're making 2 million clear for 20 weeks, yeah. No, I think we've had this discussion all the time. It's not going to go away, but I think they're going to be looking for I don't think they're going to get the DuPonts who are still in the prime of their career. I think they'd be getting the lads that are kind of coming to the end of their career, like the lads that typically go to Japan, unless your man Nonu.
That's what we were saying. Yes.
Unless your man Nonu, who was just a glitch in the Matrix.
The one thing I would say clear on that though is they said the same about Live Golf, and then they offered top players like John Ram. I think it was $100 million. So, like, if they make a stupid offer to somebody like if they offered Josh Van der Fleer $5 million a season, the lad, he can't say no to that.
Can't say no.
Or a Toje to get named.
Yeah, or any player. Your favorite player, the spoofer. I mean, if they offered him 5 years Bath salary, of course he's going to take it.
Yeah.
And the problem is they have the pockets deep enough to make these stupid money offers.
Yeah.
You know,
Okay. Ben.
Yeah.
Any Ben.
they might
Any.
be looking for a commentator, Peter. You know,
No. 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 Go away. Ben. Any retort to the points made there that the money will speak volumes for who joins
Look,
us.
if there's going to be offers that blow players out the water, then yeah, maybe they have to think about that, and maybe that's a choice that's already made for them in a way. I think what comes across chatting to players, and I think at one point I thought this was just a bit naive, but there is a value of playing for their country and for playing at World Cups and trying to win World Cups and tournaments like that, which really does factor a lot into these thoughts, especially, well, in the past that's been players thinking about going abroad, but now I think it's with this as well. Now, if the money on offer is 10 times what you were potentially looking at for a top 14 contract, I don't know how much that tests your loyalty to playing for your test side, but I know that a lot of players playing for England or playing for Ireland or playing for whoever just means more to them than the money, which sounds kind of naive, but it's true. So I think that has to be taken into account as well.
And a very good segue into my next point that I wanted to ask you, Ben, was this whole George Ford signature that he recently re-signed for Sale Sharks until 2027. He was offered, Ben, the chance to play in the R360 tournament for apparently £1 million. He turned it down. His reasoning being that he wanted to play for England in the 2027 World Cup. I think that is backing up what you're saying, Ben. Would you agree with what I just said there?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's almost done on an individual basis. I think for someone like Ford, who is 32, he's got a young family. His wife runs a load of businesses in that part of the world, up near Sale. I think the kind of, for him individually, the prospect of uprooting all that, of kind of adding in the chaos to their life that they've got at the moment, plus the fact that he thinks he's on fairly decent money at Sale, and he will be. I think that plays into his thinking. Someone like Tom Willis is different, like going to France, who's decided to leave to go to France next season.
Yeah, same guy.
Like that's his choice because we don't fully know the reasons yet, but we can speculate. You know, his brother Jack is there doing pretty well, player of the season.
Yeah.
He played at Bordeaux before and had a great time. A lot of the time it comes down to individual reasons, but I think in Ford's case, he's very settled and he didn't want to go, even though it's a lot of money on the table.
But you were saying in your podcast though, Ben, with your mate Charlie, that George Ford is lining up a coaching ticket with Sale. Is that
potentially? Listen,
Yeah.
if he doesn't end up being a coach, I will be staggered. I had a bit of time with him this week at England camp before the internationals for an interview, which I think is in the Observer on Sunday, and I essentially, almost as a joke at the end, I was like, "Can you take me through how you set up for a drop goal?" And this turned into like a 10-minute demonstration with curtains as goalposts and Ford like getting his body in the right position and trying to show me how he did it. And listen, if I then had to go out to the training field and try one myself, I'd feel pretty confident about it based on his instructions. He's just incredibly convincing. He's from a family of coaches. Don't forget his dad, Mike, of course, coached England, coached Ireland. Like, you know, he just has that kind of hunger for it. So it's not kind of as official as the Owen Farrell one, where Owen Farrell has come back to Saracens on it's a 5-year deal, and it's basically going to be 2 as a player, and then he's going to be a coach. But I think Ford's contract, it's kind of like unofficial that he will end up coaching there. I would have no doubt.
He's actually I tell you, George Ford, he's a bloody good player, I must say, at 10, and he shares this. I saw it there. With Wilkinson, Farrell, Ford, a a guy we had on the show. He was a great guest. He was a fascinating guy to talk to, Charlie Hodgson. About the players who have started. Now, maybe Ben, you can correct me if this, but players who started 20 tests for England at 10. Did I get that right? Those players are included.
Plus,
Yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah.
But there's
that'd be
more. I'm missing a few of them. Wilkinson, Ford, Farrell,
Hodgson,
Hodgson Wood.
was,
Rob Andrew must he surely. He must.
No, he's not. No, Rob Andrew is actually not. No, he's not.
Who else would it be?
I know.
It kind of comes from the amateur era as well, doesn't he?
Who was the?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
There was, I know.
I thought you'd know, Ben. My God.
Well, if Rob Andrew didn't, then Stuart Barnes can't have done.
No.
So I'm trying to think now.
Go on. I'm putting you on the spot.
I'm now. I mean, England went through this terrible period where the team wasn't great between like post Johnny getting injured. So it's not going to be. It's not going to be.
I hear we just stop. Jesus Christ. Look at that. Toby Flood. Toby Flood.
Was Toby Flood in there? Was
Toby
he
Flood
on
was on the list. Yes, he was on. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That checks out.
Yeah.
Toby Flood's a good one. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Ford's now. He had his 100th cap in the summer, and even though he's 32, I think it's wide open who starts at 10 this autumn between him and the two Smiths. Yeah, I think it wouldn't shock me if Ford was the starter on form and they had Finn Smith off the bench, to be honest.
Is one
Marcus Smith, Ben. Marcus Smith is another one on the list. There you go.
The 20, yeah.
You just reminded me, yeah. Sorry, go on, Mike.
Is Owen Farrell completely out of the reckoning now for an English short?
What as in is he long term? I don't think so. Long term, I think the agreement that they seem to have is that Farrell will just play for a little bit. He didn't play a lot at Racing. He was injured a lot, and that was why his Lions call up was a little bit of a surprise because he hadn't played much. I think the plan is for him to play a bit for Saracens to maybe just get a few months under his belt, and by the Six Nations, we'll see. But he's not officially retired. No.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Dara, I hear Basil barking in the background.
Basil's barking. Yeah.
No, I can't mute myself quick enough. You're not giving out about the future of Irish rugby, crying with Claire.
He's not crying. Sorry.
No, sorry.
Was he crying? Could you hear him? Sorry. I'm trying to keep him quiet, but I'm scaring him.
All right. Claire is minding her grandson at the moment, hence this mute. Anyway, Ben,
that's why I keep moving that way.
Okay. Ben, what I want to ask you now is we move on. We get over that. We move on. The one on the notes was this idea. Now, I don't particularly like this idea, and I suspect Dara, Claire, and Mike don't like this idea, but I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this, Ben, that referees should be involved in a post-game press conference. Now, you see, I don't like it. I don't like it, Ben, because I think it's an on-field decision. It's done there and then, whereas players can reflect on their performance. You know, if they knocked it on, if they were offside, if they gave away too many penalties and all that sort of stuff. That's fair enough. But I think a referee, Ben, is a different setup. I think it's a different discipline altogether. And I don't think they should be hauled in front of the press post-game. If the referee had a good game or a bad game or whatever it is, what do you think, Ben?
Oh, I love it. It's a great idea.
Oh my God!
I'm just messing. I'm just messing. I'm just messing with you. Is there anything I could say after that?
Go on.
No. I think, I also don't think, given that we just spoke about referee abuse at the top of the show, I don't think it's going to exactly help things if you're then hauling them out for a post-game debrief. What I would say is, so something they do in the NFL is after a game, you will basically have, I think it's like either a head, because they have a group of officials, so it's a bit different. They sort of have like a head of officials or someone like that essentially do a kind of huddle with reporters where they will discuss why certain decisions were made. So it's not the referee per se. It's more like a head of referees, or more like a governing body person. So imagine like a World Rugby person. That is something which in some cases where things are really controversial and it takes like 2 days to get a thorough explanation, maybe there's a place for that. Maybe that's a good way to do it, because then it's sort of written down in black and white and people can easily look up the reason why a certain decision was made. But I think doing it with a referee is a bit much. They're knackered after 80 minutes running around trying to look after players.
Who then? I agree with your NFL comparison, but who would you have? Who would you bring out in front of?
Yeah, it'd have to be it would have to be some sort of World Rugby spokesperson.
You're not going to.
And are you going to have someone at every single game? Probably not.
No, you're fucking not going to have.
Exactly.
You shouldn't bring anybody out. You know, they don't even do that in soccer, Peter. You know, like nobody goes to the game to see the referee. So nobody's really interested in reading articles, I think, about the referee. But no, I missed the start of the show. And the one point I'd like to make on the refereeing is I think the referees cop a lot of abuse because the TMOs aren't catching stuff. And one of the things, when I went to see Nigel Owen speak, he probably said it when you went to his other show, was the fact that himself and Derek Bevan worked together so much, where Derek was always his TMO. They developed this relationship, and Derek would say, I think it was Del Boy, if he spotted something that he thought Nigel should have picked up or whatever. And that's maybe one thing that could help with referees, is to actually pair referees with a certain TMO so that they can develop a kind of relationship. But like mixing and matching each week, you don't know who's your TMO, you don't know if they're going to be good, bad, whatever. So the referee and the TMO can't develop any kind of relationship to do. But as far as the press conference thing, the referee is only answerable to the captains. That's it. That's the only people he has to give an explanation to on the pitch, is the captain of each team if they ask him a question. He doesn't have to answer questions to the coaches. He has to answer questions to his superiors in World Rugby when they have their refereeing board meetings. But no way does he have to answer questions to the press. I just think that's just going to amplify, because all that's doing is it's asking referees to make a comment, which is going to be reported, and then it's going to just amplify the abuse they get on social media.
Oh, so Dari, you're not letting us have any fun. Come on, man. We've got to write about something. Jeez.
You'd be better off getting the mascots, Ben. Get the mascots out to talk about what they thought the match was. Because they're hiding under under an animal costume, so they can say whatever they want.
Yeah, shout out to my colleague Charles Richardson, who once dressed up as a mascot.
Hold on, Claire. Sorry, go on, Ben.
No, it's not important. I was just thinking, one of my mates who writes for the Telegraph has done a first-person piece as a mascot for Northampton. Thoroughly enjoyed himself. So that was all I had to add. Sorry, Claire. Carry on.
No. Speaking of mascots, can we just say good luck to Leo the Lion, who was running the Dublin Marathon on Sunday?
In his lion outfit.
In his lion outfit. Yes.
In his full sweaty padded gear. Yeah. Is he doing it for charity, Claire?
Yeah, he's doing it for the IRFU Charitable Trust, and he's going to be doing all his somersaults and usual shenanigans in the Aviva on Saturday, and then going and running the marathon on Sunday.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what the man is on, but good luck, Leo. Sorry for the tangents. Sorry about that.
No, you're all right. I've told Ben we tend to shoot off on tangents, so he's well used. Mike Reedy, any thoughts on this? The referee having a press conference afterwards and being approached by the international press after a game and all that?
I think it's absolute nonsense, to tell you the truth. I mean, a referee prepares his report after the game and sends it into the relevant authorities, and that's as far as it should not. But I would agree now with what something that someone has said, with maybe having a retired referee, somebody like Nigel Owen, in a TV studio while a game is going ahead, and give his input there and then. I mean, they do it.
They do that. They do that, Mike. They
done
have
that.
Not so much with referees though. Not so much with referees. They do it with ex-players and that. But like, I mean, they do it in football now. They have referees in the studios giving their professional opinion on a decision. So
they've had Nigel Owens do that at the Rugby World Cup, where he'll be in the BBC studio and he'll say, well, actually, that call that was made there, no, I don't think that was offside, and I think he penalised that unfairly. You know, so they kind of have that for the big tournaments.
Yeah.
But there's not enough seasoned referees to have it for every international. That's the problem.
But as regards having a press conference for a referee after a game, absolutely not. No chance.
Okay. All right. Okay. Fair enough. Come here, Ben. I meant to ask you. This was not on the list. The Irish 10 debate, has that resonated at all in the English rugby scene? The Crowley Prendergast thing, or
yeah, a little bit. Is it?
Right.
It's probably one for me to ask you. Is it one of those which is a bit of a nice problem to have, in that they're both clearly very good and you just need to settle on one, or actually is it causing you all a lot of strife? What would you say?
Lot of strife, Ben. Lot of strife. Yeah.
Depends which province you're from.
It's
well, this is.
like,
I mean,
I'm saying not.
If you had a top bowler for the English cricket team, and you had two of them competing for top bowler, and one was from Yorkshire and one was from Lancashire. You know,
sure, I get it.
It's just I'm trying to think of what the nearest rugby rivalry would be. I suppose Quins and Saris or something like that.
Yeah.
You know,
well, don't get me wrong. England don't exactly have a settled fly half situation. So I know it's a bit unnerving, and you would rather just pick one. From watching Sam Prendergast last season, I was pleased that he, as odd as this sounds, I was pleased that he didn't go on the Lions tour. I think that would have been way too quick and way too much for him at such a young age. And I think he clearly has got bags of talent, but there's no need to rush it. I think this whole kind of desire for him to be the perfect fly half, it might happen, but he's clearly got the ability, but it just needs a bit more time. I really like Jack Crowley. I think he's very, very good all round 10. There's lots to like every time I've watched him. I think I did a piece at the Telegraph where I chat to lots of people sort of from his kind of his town and background, and he seems like a lovely lad as well. Look, I don't have a preference, if that's what you're asking me, but I'd love to know who you guys think is the best option. Which way are you leaning?
Well, there's only one way to lean. Let's be honest right now. After last Saturday's game, there's no.
This is it.
There's no contest.
As a Leinster supporter, and it pains me to say this, as a Leinster supporter now, Jack is even better. Jack is better than Sam as an all-rounder. I said it, was it not last year, the year before, when Munster beat us in the URC semi-final with the drop goal from Jack. He seems to be slight, but Sam is only 22. And I think the thing that's wrong with Irish rugby is we had Rog and then we had Johnny. So for 18, 20 years, we had two of the best fly halves in the world. And now everyone is trying to build, let's be honest, they are kids. Well, to me, they are kids. They're 22 and 23. And people are trying to build them up to be the next Ronan O'Gara, the next Johnny Sexton. They are not going to be the next Ronan O'Gara or the next Johnny Sexton. They are going to be the new Sam Prendergast or the new Jack Crowley. Maybe Big Fight will do both of them good. But at the moment, and I am against the supporter, Jack is ahead at the moment.
I would agree. And I think Ben, you kind of touched on it there. I think this whole sorry, Darragh, one second. I just think this
Yeah.
whole 10 debate has been blown out of all proportion in the Irish media and online and both print. Go on, Darragh.
No, that was my point. I think, talking about it, we're only fueling the fire. It'll come up on the forums. I mean, we've got to remember that, these players, they look at social media, their family look at social media, they're young lads. Sam is barely 22. And, if he sees, a comment saying he played shite and he should never play for Ireland again with 10,000 likes, that's going to be hours with a sports psychologist trying to undo that kind of stuff. So I think it's just
Or lots of alcohol.
Yeah, but anybody with a modicum of rugby knowledge wouldn't make such a statement anyway. I mean,
but it doesn't matter, Mike. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The keyboard warriors, as we all know, will come out and they'll criticise.
And also, Mike, you've got to realise that Irish rugby has been so good for the last probably 9 years. It's been on a crest of a wave since we beat the Kiwis in Soldier Field in 2016. And Irish soccer has been fairly shite. So we've attracted a lot of those fans into rugby.
I'm aware
and they'll be online going, oh, yeah, I think, Crowley is definitely the next 10 for Leinster. Yeah, he should totally be picked for Leinster. Not having a clue. They know he plays for Ireland, but they haven't a clue which province he plays for.
Yeah.
And these are the likes of keyboard warriors.
Really and truly, Sam Prendergast has a future without any shadow of a doubt, and a very bright
He
future.
does. Yeah, he does.
He has a present as well.
And he needs to be given time, though. The boy needs. He's been rushed a little bit too much. Maybe over desperation, because like Claire said, we're looking for the next Johnny Sexton or the next Ronan O'Gara, and they all need to be given time and given a chance to develop. He's still only a boy. He's still growing probably. And
right.
Okay. Ben, would you agree generally with what has just been said there?
Yeah. No, I would. All I was going to add was that I think the key is probably to make a decision for this autumn about who it's going to be as the starter, and then just stick with it for all the games and just let them have a good run. So if it's going to be Jack, fine, but give him the 3-4 games that's required just to kind of bed in. I think that's what's needed, and then you can reassess. Get to December, and then think about how has it gone. Is it time to give Sam another go? And also, who knows? Like, you might end up in a situation where Sam comes off the bench in that scenario, wins a couple of games, it boosts his confidence. You get a good tandem going. I think that would be what I would say. I appreciate that I've just said, from an English perspective, that George Ford should start when Finn Smith's the one that needs time. So just ignore what I said earlier about that. But I think, I think just stick with the same starter for 4 games.
Well, come here. Okay, you just reminded me of something now, Ben. Do you think George Ford would be at the 2027 World Cup for England?
Yeah. I think all 3 of the current 10s would be there, and I can't see anyone breaking through to upset that 3. And Marcus covers fullback, which is really valuable in smaller World Cup squads. So I think George will be there.
Okay. You see, I hate that. I've said this, Ben. This
he goes Marcus Smith at fullback.
No, it's not just that. We have our own utility player in Leinster.
We do.
Ireland, I suppose, Kieran Frawley. I just think a utility player. Now, Ben, please disagree with me.
Please disagree with him. Please disagree.
I don't.
Worked out well for Elliot Daly.
Well, Elliot Daly's. Yeah, okay. Anyway,
3 Lions tours. It's gone pretty well.
No. Hear me out, Ben. Hear me out. I don't like the concept of a utility player because I believe that if you want to be the best in your... Now, I can see the merit in a utility player, but I think if you want to be the best at your particular position, then you got to concentrate on being a 10, being a 12, being an inside centre, being an outside centre, being a full back, being an open side or whatever, wing forward, right? Ireland had and England had a dedicated out half, per se, in Johnny Wilkinson. We had a dedicated fullback in Rob Kearney. utility player, I think it does have a place, Ben. It does have a place, but I'm not a huge fan of a utility player because I think they're great on the bench, brilliant. You know, they're 20 to 23 position. Okay, bring them on. He can play centre. But honestly, I think you should concentrate on your position that you want to excel in, Ben. I don't know if you probably don't.
So I don't disagree with what you're saying. If I speak for coaches, however, coaches bloody love utility players.
Yes, they do. They do.
Especially now, because if you're going to go 6-2 or 7-1, if you can have a back on the bench, you can literally slot into centre or wing or fullback. That is the dream for them. And I was talking Steve Borthwick on Monday when we spoke to him. This came up again because we said, "Oh, you've got a million wingers in your latest squad," and he said, "Yeah, well, look, Tommy Freeman's a great winger, but Tommy Freeman can play centre. Tommy Freeman can play fullback. Coaches love it." So I think you're right. Surely it is better if you're a player to just focus on one position, but actually, I think the game's kind of moved to a point where if you want to go to a World Cup and you're a fringe player, you better be able to play flanker if you're a centre or vice versa.
But I think, Ben, sorry, Darren, one second. The one reason I don't agree with it, because if you say to a fan group or a Facebook group or whatever it may be that, well, we picked him because, or her, because they can play 12 or 15. Completely different positions, Ben. Completely different positions. Completely different skills.
Do you trust a player less if their talents are spread across two positions? Would you
or
say?
three in Kieran Frawley?
Or three?
That's would I trust them less? Jeez, that's a bloody good question, Ben.
Sometimes I ask them, Peter, in this line of work.
Yeah,
Sometimes.
no. I love it. Would I trust the player less? I would probably. Well, you've stumped me. To be honest with you, I'm not normally.
Finally, someone has stumped
I
him.
don't.
Look at James.
I
Ben.
don't. No, I don't think, Ben, I would trust him less, but I would be more confident if, say, I'll put it this way: if Rob Kearney came on for Hugo Keenan to drag it back to a specialist position, but I don't think I would trust him.
Yeah, but Hugo was specialist.
Yeah.
Hugo was specialist and Robin. Yes, okay.
Yeah,
so if
one's injured and one's retired, so we're in a
I know.
classic example now where we need that kind of cover because we don't have a dedicated fullback at the moment. Look at James Lowe.
Because he's injured.
James Lowe plays 11, but he also covers 15. When Hugo is out and say Frawley's at 15, James Lowe will cover 15 with him as well. So he can play both positions. If you're a player and there's a glut of centers, or there's a glut, you're a right winger and there's a glut of right wingers, but you can also play fullback, you're obviously going to try and play fullback as well because you want to get on the team. And as Ben said, it all comes down to the fact that we're making props and forwards bigger and bigger and bigger, so they can't last 80 minutes. So you need more forwards on the bench because you're going to have to replace them after about 60 minutes, which has its own player safety factor because bigger feckers charging into you are more dangerous. So you can't have a wide selection of backs on the bench. So obviously, if you have a utility player like Frawley who can cover 2 or 3 positions, you have to. Are they your first choice for those positions? No, that's why they're on the bench.
Or Tommy Freeman.
Yeah, or Tommy Freeman. But that's why they're on the bench. They're not your first choice at those positions, but they're going to at least get some game time at one of those positions through substitution. And I think that's there's not many utility players who you will see being picked in the starting 15, but being moved around positions. You'll see the odd one or two, like Marcus Smith, the World Cup moving him to 15, and Izzy at 15.
I think that was a big mistake.
Yeah, I know, but you don't see utility players in the starting 15. You really only see them on the benches, I think.
All right, okay.
And
because that's their natural kind of habitat.
Yeah, no, go on, Claire.
The Swiss Army knives of rugby playing.
Yeah, and what's the best hero for all these starts at the weekend?
Probably, yes. Okay.
Just to prove Tara wrong.
Very much in favour. I'm becoming very much in favour of utility players. I mean, South Africa have moved the goalposts completely with their 7-1 nonsense. We all thought.
Don't bring up South Africa, Jesus Christ!
Listen, there's a reality. We have to accept that it's there. It's in our face. So I mean, they have Quagga Smith who can play in the centre or play in fucking flanker or play even as a prop.
But you could say that about DuPont.
Well, they're three completely different positions on a pitch.
And DuPont played in the centre, and he played scrum half. He played in the centre.
I would have no problem with, for instance, with Jamie Osborne either coming in as a full back on the wing, as a centre, anywhere he's required. So I think utility players are probably the future. I think I genuinely do think, and I'm on the hold than you guys. And I come from a different era of rugby.
Yeah, we know. Yes, we know. Yes.
Right. So it would have been unheard of back in our day, but it's the future. We have to accept that, and the fact that South Africa I despise South Africa, by the way. I'm not going to fucking try to hide that. I don't. But
all right, okay, yeah.
But it's something we're going to have to accept. It's as simple as that. And
okay. There's a load of comments coming in.
Remember when the wingers used to
hold on.
You know, don't you?
Absolutely.
Hold on. One sec, Dar. A couple of comments there coming in. I didn't. Kieran Ryan, evening, Kieran. Evening, everyone. We saw how good Jack was last week. Sam has played in a team that hasn't got going yet this year, but like Jack with Munster this time last year, Jack should start against the All Blacks. Yes, I agree with you, Kieran. But Farrell seems to like Sam over Jack. I don't think that likability is going to factor in the 10th choice for the New Zealand game. Be interesting team selection. Yes, absolutely. Okay. Our colleague Peter Martin.
I'm making a comment.
Evening all. Hold on one sec there. Peter Martin, our colleague. Evening all. The skills the player has will influence where the player can play outside their regular position. If a player has a very good distribution and pace, he will play centre, probably inside centre, yes. If he can kick, maybe he can play 10. All right. Sorry, Derek, go on.
So I was at the Andy Farrell book launch last Sunday. Was it last Sunday? Yeah, last Sunday. And that question was asked to him by a Connacht supporter, because you could email in your questions, and he did about 15 minutes of questions at the end. And it was basically, what's the story with Crowley? Why isn't he being picked anymore? And he basically said, look, he said, Crowley's a great player. He said, but he said, the reality is we need competition. And he said, I brought Sam Prendergast in to try and get competition, to have the two lads competing for the same shirt. He said, the last thing you want is to pin all your hopes on one guy and then have him get injured. Now, yes, we're only 3 games into the season. So as I've said to my wife, who's a Munster supporter, relax the fuck. It's like, but yes, I do think Jack should probably start in the
yes, so do I. Oh.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Sam gets one of the games in the All Internationals.
Japan.
Maybe so, yeah. Because he'll want to keep the two of them competing for the Six Nations.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Of course we would, yeah. Sorry, Claire. Mike, were you on? Sorry.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what you want to do. Have both of them being good enough for going forward.
Yeah.
Okay, Ben, I want to ask you this before we go on to our game predictions, because we're fast approaching the hour mark. We're probably going to go over time again, but we'll try and keep it as close to the hour mark as possible. Ben, women's rugby is growing faster globally than the men's game. And we had, as I said, earlier. We had Victoria Rush on, great guest. She made the documentary No Woman, No Try. She is a huge advocate for women's rugby on the world stage. But it seems that some countries, Ben, aren't really buying into this, pointing straight at Australia, where they are cutting by, I think, a quarter, 25, 30% or something like that, the funding for the women's team, the pathways, etc. What the hell is going on there, Ben?
When you sent me that, and I was reading up on it, the optics for that are just atrocious.
Shocking.
Of all the times and moments to do that, when you are the country who's hosting the next Women's Rugby World Cup in 2029, it does kind of baffle me, and I don't know if it's been addressed publicly yet, but I am honestly, there are some press conferences that you are fascinated to witness, and I really look forward to seeing them try and explain why this seems to be a good idea. Look, it was a disappointing World Cup for the women's for the Wallaroos this time, going out the way they did in the quarterfinal to Canada in pretty. They were pretty well beaten. I think to then add this on top of that, when you have such a golden opportunity, it's not an Australia pun, golden kit, but it might as well be, to kind of capitalize on the momentum from the tournament we've just had, and then to turn around and do that. I'm baffled. I'm baffled by it, to be honest.
And plus the fact
it doesn't make sense. Sorry, go on, Dara.
They came out and said, so they cut the men's sevens, they cut the women's, they cut the underage pathways for both men's and women's. But they also admitted that they were 30 million in debt before the Lions tour, which they'd actually cleared after the Lions tour. So it's like, it's not, and then it's going to be 2 years, and you're going to have World Cup income and advertising and all that kind of stuff. And then a further 2 years, and they're going to have the Women's World Cup. So it's not like they're actually okay cash wise at the moment. So it just seems like, talk about shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, this is just absolutely beggars belief, because it doesn't seem to be a financial issue if they've cleared down their debt after the Lions tour. And as Ben said, the optics of hosting the Men's World Cup and then the Women's World Cup 2 years later, just
their debt, Dara, as we've spoken about before, the Australian Rugby Union, their debt of 30 million was wiped clean after the Lions tour. So again, I don't understand it either. Claire, any thoughts on this before we go on to our game?
I'm just going to show this, right? This is a chip I received when I was at the Ladies World Cup final, right? It says "With love, Wallaroo 19," right? There's a barcode you can scan. This was given to me by Libby Andrew, who apparently was Wallaroo 19 previously before my time, but she has written a book basically about celebrating women's rugby in Australia. After she gave me this, I sent her a message asking her how she felt about what Australian rugby are doing to the women's. Let's just say there was a lot of expletives. So like if you're trying to make women's rugby bigger, and you're cutting it, considering you're holding the Men's World Cup and the Women's World Cup. Like the World Cup final in England was absolutely amazing for the women. It was unbelievable. I've actually never seen so much support for a women's game. But the way Australian rugby are going, they're just going to destroy young girls' hope.
You were there, Claire, at the women's rugby.
Did I not tell you? Darn, I must have forgotten to tell you.
You did. Mike Reedy, any thoughts on this before we go on to our last topic?
I think it's quite indicative of Australian rugby right now. Anyway, they're just making one bad decision after another. I mean, they made the great decision to bring Eddie Jones back for the last World Cup. Absolute disaster. And then Joe Schmidt came in on the back of that because Jones left. So they're just making one bad decision after another, and this is it's absolutely mind-boggling, is what it is, because like everybody else has said, you know, they've got the World Cup coming up in a couple of years' time, and the Women's World Cup 2 years after that. I just can't make it. No, you can't make sense. There's no sense to be made out of this. None at all.
That was probably a portion of their 30 million debt Peter was having to pay off Eddie Jones to get the feck off.
Probably, yeah.
But the ironic thing is that Australia were you know, they were one of the first to really embrace the women's game. Like, they were one of the original teams, and they were, you know, and everybody is sportsman in Australia. So it's just like, just makes no sense.
But you remember we had that great guest on, Ben, I don't know if you know, but we had this great guest on, and I say that in aerial parentheses, David Campese.
I hope you don't use that when you talk about me in future episodes.
No.
That'll be very disappointing.
But no. But I tell you, Ben, Campo, I said to him, I asked him a question when we were chatting to him, the few words that we got out of him. If you were walking down the main street in Melbourne or Sydney or whatever the feck it was, would people know who you were? And he said, no, they wouldn't, because rugby has dropped way down in the psyche of Australian sports fans. It's probably fifth or sixth at this stage with NFL and whatever the hell it is, which I found very surprising. But,
and the ironic thing about that is, if you walk down the street of Dublin, people would recognise him even now. People that didn't see him.
Of course,
you
would, yeah. Of course you would, yeah. Of course you would.
Well,
anyway, okay, our last. Sorry, go on, Ben.
No, I was just going to say he's right, but this, as I think Dara touched on it. This is their kind of. They have to get this period right, essentially, for the future of the game in Australia. This triple header of the Lions and the Men's World Cup and the Women's World Cup. Like, if you can't make a roaring success out of those three things, then I think you're stuffed, really. So, yeah.
Yeah, if there was ever a chance for Union to try and claw something back from league, this is the time to do it. Otherwise, they may as well just close up shop. I mean, at this stage, you have AFL, you have the league, you have cricket. Tiddlywinks is probably ahead of Union in Australia at the moment. So far down the pecking order of sports. Frisbee golf, that kind of stuff. You know, so.
All right. Okay. Our final thing. We're 7 minutes over time. Okay, folks. Games coming up.
Not like us at all.
Games coming up this weekend. Ben, I have a couple of, I think, Premiership games thrown in for you.
That's very good.
We also have the. There you go. We also have the URC. Now, Ben, I'm going to leave you last, so you're the last voice on the show. Claire, to you. We have the Lions are playing Ulster in the URC.
I'm going to go Ulster.
Okay. Leinster are playing Zebra, whatever way you pronounce it.
Leinster, hopefully.
Okay. The Interpro, Munster are playing Connacht. Claire.
Where are they playing? Thomond or?
Thomond Park, yeah.
Munster are at home, yeah.
Munster.
Okay. Glasgow are taking on the Bulls.
Glasgow.
All right. And the Saints are playing Saracens. That should be a good game.
Saints, because I as much as it pains me to admit it, I am a closet Saints fan. My Premiership team are Northampton Saints. I even have a Northampton Saints flag, courtesy of my friend who is a Northampton Saints supporter.
Okay. I'm terribly sorry to hear that. Mike Reedy, Lions are playing Ulster.
I actually agree with Claire. I think Ulster, on the back of their fantastic result last weekend against the Sharks, wasn't it?
Okay. Leinster are playing Zebra. Mike.
Oh, Leinster have to get a kickback from that disaster at the weekend.
Well, they kind of have to. And the Interpro, Mike, as I said to Claire, Munster are playing Connacht. Your team.
I think at Thomond Park, I think Munster, yeah.
Okay. Glasgow are playing the Bulls.
I agree with Claire again. I think Glasgow could actually do the Bulls. Glasgow won getting to nil anyway. Whoever they played the weekend, out was a Welsh team.
Okay. I think that one of the games of the weekend is going to be the Saints versus Saracens. I think, Mike. What do you think of that?
I'm not sure about that one. By the way, that could go either way. That's got the potential to be an absolute cracker. I'd have to go. And
I'm looking forward to it.
It's at Franklin's Gardens, is it? So you'd have to think Northampton would prevail there. But Saracens are going all right. They're going well. But I'll go with that.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Claire. Dara, to you. Lions are playing Ulster.
Ulster. The Richie comeback will continue.
Okay. Leinster are playing Zebra.
Leinster.
Okay. Munster, the Interpro Munster playing Connacht.
I have to say Munster, but I think Connacht will get a losing bonus point. I think it's going to be closer. I think Munster could be a bit humbled. I think they could be a bit cocksure after beating Leinster, and I think Connacht could put it up to them. I think it'll be there'll be less than one story at the end.
Okay, Dara, Glasgow versus Bulls.
Well, sure, the Saffas win either way, because if the Glasgow win, they'll say it was Franco Smith. So I'd say Glasgow.
All right, and finally, the Saints are playing Saracens. Saints.
I love this. I always, there's a soft spot in my heart for seeing Saris lose, so I'll have to go for the Saints.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right, Ben. Last voice on the show, Ben. Lions are playing Ulster. Lions at home.
I will go with Ulster as well. Why not? Unbeaten Ulster, are they so far?
Yeah. 3-0
They are, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, you're right. Leinster, Ben, are playing Zebra.
Yeah, Leinster.
Okay, the Interpro, Munster are taking on Munster at home, taking on Connacht.
I'll say Munster, but I think that Stuart Lancaster will do a very good job at Connacht, but I will still go Munster.
All right, okay. Glasgow are taking on the Bulls.
Glasgow should be good, that.
Should be good, all right, yeah, you're right. And the game I'm really looking forward to watching is the Saints versus Saracens.
Yeah, I think Northampton just don't lose at home. They've lost once at home in 2025. They just don't lose there. Even so, Saracens playing very well, but yeah, I think Northampton will win that.
All right.
As long as they play for the second half as well as the fourth half. Saints have been shocking this season. They've thrown away 45-point leads to get caught and all. You're like, oh my god, why do I support rugby?
They're just trying to make it fun, Claire. They're just trying to make it fun.
That's it. Well, there you go. Yes. Okay, folks, that is all we have time for. My thanks are, as always, to my colleagues here, Claire Devaney, Mike Reedy, and to Dara Weston, and also our special guest. He's been a great guest, a great guy. Folks, you should check out his podcast, The Rugby Bunker. I believe it's every Tuesday and Friday.
That's right. Yep.
On YouTube,
Tuesday and Friday.
On YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's Ben does a great job in hosting that. And also read his articles in the Observer and the Telegraph. Ben, it's been our pleasure to chat with you. You've been a gentleman. Thank you so much for your time. It's been our pleasure.
Not at all. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks for